What a crazy week this has been. Especially in autumn, you sometimes get those moments when things suddenly kick off with rare birds. It's as if a barrel of rare birds is suddenly opened and you don't know where to look. This week, that's exactly what happened. We start calmly with a fun but not mega rare species, the rosy starling. The adult bird on Texel, which hadn't been seen for weeks, turned out to be still there. In northeast Groningen, a juvenile bird was also observed. Let's hope the adult bird will still be around during the Dutch birding weekend. Another fun one was the Siberian chiffchaff that was still present at the Maasvlakte. This bird could sometimes be seen quite nicely, and it was a new one for my film list. Moreover, about 5 others were found along the coast from Vlieland to Oudorp. In addition to the American golden plover that's been on Texel for some time, a dotterel also suddenly appeared. They can still be found, but they are much rarer in October than in the previous 2 months. Speaking of waders on Texel, guess who was still there? That's right, the long-billed dowitcher was still seen in the same place. Please hang on until the weekend. Hooded crows can be seen all year round on Schiermen and Koog. However, this week one was also seen at the port of Scheveningen, though it's very likely the same one that was seen in The Hague this summer. The numbers of yellow-browed warblers promised a good week for eastern species. After years of increasing numbers, we've had a few lean years, but this year they're being observed again in abundance. For example, 12 were observed in a sparsely vegetated dune area known as the Gully. In Groningen, a hoepel was observed until October 1st. Then, on October 4th, one appeared on Ameland. Both Vlieland and Texel still had barred warblers, always a fun sight for October when they tend to be rarer. Since last week, a red-breasted flycatcher has been seen at the Maasvlakte, though it became harder to observe as the days went by, as it mainly stayed deep in the bushes. The black-winged kite found last week on Texel was still there on Monday. Then on the 5th, another one was observed on the mainland just south of Texel. Next, we move on to something a bit rarer. The second red-flanked bluetail of the season was found in the North Holland Dune Reserve, found by its call. A good tip for everyone: if you Google a species name plus eBird, you get an information page where you can also listen to the sounds. Red-flanked bluetail is definitely one to memorize. Now on to some rare buntings, starting with the little bunting. Several were recorded calling as they flew over, and while that's always exciting for the discoverer, we'd much prefer to see them perched. Unfortunately, that didn't happen this week with little bunting. This suspected black-headed bunting also wasn't twitchable. It sat in the bushes briefly, but quickly flew off again, leaving the observers bewildered, trying to identify the bird they had just seen. Black-headed bunting seems to best fit, but I'm unsure if red-headed bunting can be completely ruled out. Now for a bunting that was twitchable, finally a relatively tame, twitchable rustic bunting that Willem and I visited. It was one of 2 rustic buntings observed this week in the Amsterdam water dunes, but this was the only twitchable one. Fortunately, the bird was close to the parking area, as the region is quite large. The bird mainly fed on a sparsely vegetated sandy path and occasionally flew into some bushes. This week, many passing pipits were noted again. Richard's pipits were doing well, with multiple birds sometimes flying together over the water niles. Red-throated pipits were also noted here and there, but only one was seen on the ground on the dike at the Maasvlakte. Unfortunately, it wasn't twitchable. Neither were the 2 olive-backed pipits that were seen on the ground. One bird was seen in the Schoorselduinen and another near Noordwijkerhout. The highlight among pipits was the pipit that flew over the counting point at Vlissingen on October 6th. Unfortunately, also not twitchable. Pipit is now considered an almost annual species in the Netherlands. On the morning of October 2nd, a crag martin was seen flying over Texel. The observer still had his camera in the bag and the bird couldn't be relocated. Whether this sighting will be accepted based on the description alone remains to be seen, but I wish the observer the best of luck. Before we get to the 2 biggest highlights of the week, there was also an eastern yellow wagtail sighting on Vlieland. The problem with this species is that in the Netherlands it's split into a few species, and whether a recording of the call is enough to determine the exact species remains uncertain. Nonetheless, an impressive sighting and perhaps the most exciting one of the second Deception Tours weekend of the year. While many people were searching in the woods for the week's absolute highlight, a shrike was photographed in the previously mentioned gully, which turned out to be the 5th brown shrike for the Netherlands. After its true identity was confirmed, the bird was no longer present, but it was later found a bit further inland, near the same farm where the first occurrence of rufous-tailed scrub robin in 2013 was found. The next day, a thorough search was conducted, but the bird was not seen again. And now, the absolute highlight of the week, and likely of the entire year. Last year, Dutch birder Bette Bruin, who lives in Norway, discovered the second acceptable record of dark-sided flycatcher for Europe in Norway. This year, Bas van Gennep struck with the third ever for Europe and of course the first for the Netherlands in the Dune forest near Wassenaar. The bird was reported at 3 o'clock, just too late for birders from all corners of the country to make it. A group of birders from Vlieland made a brave attempt by water taxi, but arrived 5 minutes too late. Some arranged accommodation nearby, and on Sunday a thorough search was made. Hours passed with no sign of the bird. Many had already left when, a little after 12 o'clock, the bird was finally found again, much to the delight of the maker of this video, who had just barely seen it on the first day, but now finally got a chance to film the bird, something I hadn't managed to do on Saturday. Oh, and the usual ringneck ducks and lesser scaup were also still around. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.